Yeah, all right. What's up, everyone? It's the post-fight podcast. We're going to recap Rizin 26, huge show, New Year's Eve yesterday. I think we've all just about recovered. It was a long, long day. How many fights, guys, were there in total? 16, I think. Crazy. Anyway, yeah, we've got John Yonko and Drake Riggs. They're going to help me break it down. We might be getting Andrew Whitelaw in as well. I've sent out a message to him to see if he wants to jump on.
The bat, what is it called? The bat sign or whatever?
That signal. Yeah,
the bat signal.
I've sent up the rising signal to Mr.
Z.
Whitelaw.
The big Z.
The big Z. Hey, I like that. I like that Rizin is using the Z instead of the R.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Z is just like, that's like some Zorro type shit right there, right? Like, that's what it reminds me of. When I see it, I think it's Zorro. Like, the Zorro of MMA. That's what Rizin is.
Beautiful.
If that's good. So
yeah, well, be that as it may. Let's talk fights, guys. So I'll just scroll this little banner down here on my fancy new graphics I've been making over the last few days because there's been no MMA on other than this show. Very glad to have some fights to watch again. Let's start with that main event then. Kyoji Horiguchi reclaims the throne. He wins the bantamweight title with first round TKO over Kai Asakura. Drake. Just incredible, wasn't it, from Kyoji, and it levels things up at 1-1. There's a potential trilogy there, but there's also other things. I think he wants the champ thing again. Could go after one Archuleta. Yeah, what do you think now is the best move for Horiguchi after that?
Yeah, man, there are plenty of options for Horiguchi, and I like all of them because, immediately we have the three that come right to mind, which is, of course, the trilogy, as you mentioned, that Bellator title fight with Juan Archuleta, who won since he's become champion. Even before that, he's been open to fighting both of these guys. I remember asking him about it, I think, when he fought Ricky Bandejas, when I went and covered that fight, and he was like, yeah, I'm totally down. I'll be watching that fight. So he's been interested in both of Kai and, Kyoji for a good while now. So he's open to that, and then Kai and Kyoji obviously were both open to that, depending on how this one went. So that would be very cool. And then, of course, as we saw earlier in the night, Naoki Inoue, who got the win impressively, looked amazing in that fight. Those are the top three options for Kyoji. And which one is most enticing? I would have to imagine the Bellator title fight because he didn't technically lose that title. So that one would be best to see, I think, for all parties. I think the trilogy between him and Kai is inevitable. You got to do that, right? Even the score out at some point. But after the loss that he had and the fashion he did and everything, I don't think it'll be immediate, especially with, that Bellator option there waiting in the wings with everybody seemingly listed in it.
Well, before I get to you, John, I do have an update. I don't think Mr. Whitelaw will be joining us. He says he feels like a corpse after his celebrations last night. I can sympathize. I think I went to bed at 4:30 a.m. It was a long night. Only had a few hours sleep. But yes, John, how good did Horiguchi look? Given everything, he had that devastating knee injury. He was out for so long. He came back, looked better than ever. He really punctuated, I think, his greatness, didn't he?
With that performance, he basically spit in everybody's face that predicted the fight for Kai Asakura. Even yours truly, myself, I thought Kai was going to go in there and do the same exact thing. It looked like an adult film in there. It was just a massacre. I'm talking about adult film as a massacre, like a horror movie. I don't know. It showed us that Horiguchi, he is leaps and bounds ahead in strategic MMA. You know what I mean? Like just going out there and knowing exactly what Kai is going to do before Kai even does anything. And that's what Horiguchi did in there. He went in there, he went after the front leg because he probably saw something in the tape showing that Kai doesn't really check kicks. And he just kind of just leaves himself out there with that front leg, and Horiguchi went out there and just started beating it up. After about, I think, 4 of those kicks landed perfectly, and Kai wasn't even checking any of them. It was over. It was over after like the 4th or 5th kick, man. Just Horiguchi, even after the fight was over, he said, "Easy fight" to Mike Brown. That's his quote. That's the quote right there. That's the quote of the year for Rizin. Horiguchi, after he pummels Kai Asakura, he goes over to his corner and says, "Easy fight." Easy fight. It was an easy fight for Horiguchi, man. He all the doubters, myself included, you know, we got to eat it. We got to eat the 3-letter words, right? Or 4-letter words. So, what do you do
can
with
eat that
Koraguchi
hat,
now?
John. The hat
Huh?
on your head. You can eat your hat.
Yeah, I can eat my hat. Is that an expression from the UK, eating your hat?
Yes, I do believe it's from my homeland. I thought it was a well-traveled phrase that had spread to the rest of the world, but maybe not.
No, I've never heard it, but now I do. I'm gonna tell everybody, you better
Okay.
eat your hat if they're wearing one. Just for no reason. I'll just be like, hey, you better eat your hat.
They're
Eat
like,
your
"What?"
hat.
All right.
Just random
Man,
people
you
on the
can do
street.
that. Yeah. I
And then
look
they'll
forward to it.
look at me and maybe someone might want to fight me. I don't know, but hopefully not. But yeah, Kai, man, like one to nitpick at Kai and his performance, right? Because that's what we do here. We need to nitpick something. So he didn't come out any different than he does, and I think that's what a lot of the bantamweights was telling me in the pre-fight interviews is like nothing depends on Kai because he's going to be the same. It depends on Horiguchi, and it did play out exactly what they were talking about. Like Kai came out the same, and Horiguchi knew that, and Horiguchi just beat up that front leg, and then after that he went for the head and got the kill. Man, it was impressive. It was impressive. Horiguchi, it goes back to that whole argument of like, is the best coaching in North America? Is it there? Is it, because there's great fighters everywhere, right? Everywhere. But is the best coaching in North America? Because Horiguchi went out there and made the adjustments. Kai didn't make any adjustments. And that flying knee is one of the worst weapons in his arsenal. Why does he keep throwing flying knees when he has no power in any of them? Have you seen him land a flying knee? It seems like every time he throws a flying knee, even in his previous fights, he gets clipped, right? Drake, am I lying?
No,
Am I
it's
being
bad
delusional?
accurate.
Yeah, it's like, why is he even doing that? I mean, like, there's no reason for that. But man, he keeps doing it, and Horiguchi knew exactly what he was gonna do. Mike Brown, that guy's a genius, man. That's why he coaches champions. He coaches some of the best in the world. And if you're old enough to remember Mike Brown, he was a champion himself in the WEC. I believe he knocked out. Did he knock out Uriah Faber?
Yep.
Drake, you would know best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice, I think.
Yeah.
He beat him twice at least.
Yeah, he beat him twice at least, right? So go back and watch Mike Brown fight. He's a beast too. You know what I mean? He's legit to himself. But yeah, Horiguchi, where does he go from here? Man, I kind of hope that he defends the belt in Japan first. That's what I want to see. I don't really want to see him go directly over to Bellator. You know what I mean? Like, he's a rising fighter. If you're a rising fighter, I feel like if he can, come back in March, because I feel the next event is in March, right? Rising 27.
The big one, I
Tokyo Dome, right?
I can't imagine they won't have one before that, but I don't
Really?
have any inside info on that, but
Yeah.
that's just a big gap. That's the big show, obviously the Tokyo Dome show, but I'm sure they have to have some before that, one or two, I would imagine.
Okay, so anyways, even if he doesn't come back until the March event, the big show, yeah, I think that's the best time for him to come back and defend his title. They have to have him on there. He's one of the biggest stars that they have. He shouldn't fight in Bellator until he defends the belt one time, and then he kind of like solidifies himself as the champion when he successfully defends it, and then goes over to Bellator because all the matchups are there. And I don't think that they're gonna start any like tournament until after March, most likely. Who knows though? But I don't know. I don't see that happening. What do you see happening with Asakura now, man? That's the question, because people are talking about maybe he cracked his fibula or he snapped his fibula or something, right? He couldn't walk after the fight. Like, I remember Bruno tweeted out something that he saw him backstage, and he said that Kai couldn't walk, man. So he might be on the shelf for a little while, right?
Yeah, very well could be. It'll be interesting to see what is next for him, though, and how they want to go forward with that. And I think it depends on, what happens with whoever Horiguchi fights next, because let's just imagine that he does go fight Archuleta for his next fight. Then what would you want to do? Kai versus Naoki potentially? Or would you give Kai somebody who isn't like the next contender? I don't know. It's interesting. The options that would happen for him too. I've seen mention of like the Oka Sasaki rematch, which that could be good. I don't know how Rizin would feel about that. Oka would want that with the the jaw injury and everything, having flashbacks, but he looked quite good this evening as well. Yeah, I think it depends on what happens with him, but if he does defend his title like we're hoping here, John, then it would have to be against Naoki, right? So who knows?
Yeah, but
Okay.
is Naoki a big enough name? That's the question too. You know what I
True.
mean? For us, looking from the outside in, yeah, it sounds logical for us. But for the fans, is Naoki a big enough name? Yeah, he was in the UFC, but in Japan, is he that popular? You know what I mean? That's what we have to see and find out what Rizin wants to do, because Rizin does what they want to do. I don't know if that the fighters have that much say in like what's going on, right? Rizin's pretty pretty strong in their opinions, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Horiguchi, man, he goes home and with the belt, man, shining again. And yeah, and like Drake said, he never lost the Bellator title. So basically he is still the champion over there. Juan Archuleta is the interim champion, and he just has to sit on that tight until Horiguchi goes over there and fights him. But that is the fight to make for the bantamweight title, though. If they do anything eventually, is Horiguchi versus Archuleta. And quick predictions on that. Drake, what do you think happens there?
Archuleta and Horiguchi. Oh boy, that's a very interesting one. Archuleta, I think, still one of the more underrated guys just in all of MMA, but continuously proving people wrong with the wins that he goes out there and has, like the Patchy Mix one. I think a lot of people counted him out in that one because Mix was very hot at the time, just seeing the streak that he was on. But Horiguchi, man, reminded us that he is on another level, when he is on in this last fight. So I can't really pick against him. I think that Juan has all the abilities to make it pretty close, but I just think Kyoji will have, a step ahead in the key areas, when it comes to the speed and his grappling and takedown defense, which I think Juan would want to kind of be heavy on him in that area. But just the pace of the whole fight overall would be very fun to see because these guys both do not slow down. Yeah, and if you just look at like the Pitbull fight that Archuleta had, I think that Kyoji could replicate something similar to that as well. It's just hard to go against him, man. We don't ever see him lose often, and now he's avenged that loss that he has had in the last 15, 14 fights or whatever his crazy streak was since Demetrius. So I got to favor the Gooch as much as I love Archuleta.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Gooch too in that fight. Archuleta, he's a good fighter and he's good everywhere, but I feel like Gucci with his speed and I think Gucci has that killer instinct, and I feel like that
Yep.
is the major factor in that fight, is that Gucci could go out there and just do some nasty work on somebody, man. It's just what he does, man. That's him. And I think this loss to Kai, it opened his eyes. He might have kind of became a little bit complacent, like before that fight where he was like, man, I'm just beating everybody and it's kind of easy now, and he's just like, let me just play around a little bit. And that's what he did in that first fight against Kai, and now he's not playing around anymore. I think like he's laser focused to defend these belts and be the double champ again. And I think he could do it, man. I think he's going to do it. I think that's what's going to happen. And we might see something special in the next couple of years with Horiguchi going back and forth from Bellator to Rizin. I hope we do, and I hope Bellator comes back to Asia so I could go watch them live again, because it was fun. It was fun for them to bring some guys over from North America to fight. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see a fun year from Horiguchi, and we're gonna all be here to cover it and chat about him and what spectacular fighter he is, and praise him. You know what I mean? Even though he don't get the praise he deserves. And I feel like in MMA, it's like if you're not talking trash, like 50% of the time, it's people kind of forget about what you can do in the cage. But he proved to us that you don't need to talk trash. You just go in there and do your thing and smash. And easy fight. That's his new nickname.
Easy fight, Horiguchi.
Easy
I like
fight. Like
That's
Kyoji
good.
Horiguchi. Kyoji, easy fight. That's a t-shirt. You should
Easy.
make that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the most excited I think I've ever seen him too.
Yeah, right. Emotionally,
Yeah.
he really wanted that fight. I think he wanted and he needed it. That's the thing. And he felt the pressure, and it was a sense of relief for him after the fight.
Well, you made a
And
good point in our preview show. Like, if he was to have lost that fight, he's in a terrible spot. Kind of similar to Max Holloway, who I don't know if his spot's as bad as Horiguchi's would have been because of how close Holloway's losses were and everything. But he would have been in a weird area, title contention wise and in the division.
yeah, so props to Horiguchi. Let's get to the next fight, which it's cool and all, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't have much to say about this fight, man.
Well, yeah. Before we get into that, just say everyone joining us, thank you. Happy New Year, yes, as well. One Championship UK. Nice to see you again. I forgot to say that to you guys, and as we got there, a reminder: please put your questions in the chat. Yes. Well, we'll go to you, Drake, first for this because you did a little piece on it for SCMP. Thank you so much for covering that.
course.
Tension, unanimous decision over Kumandoy. I think we all expected that result, didn't we? No big shock there. But the nice surprise we got, looks like they're setting up what would be a dream fight against Sagawa, right? Tension, and maybe they're going to do that in March.
Yeah, man, that was just the surprise of that was kind of crazy to see that Takaru was there. I mean, nobody saw that coming. Even the commentary, if you're listening to like Trig and Joe Ferraro was like, "Oh wait, is that no? It's what is that? What?" Like he was all taken aback. Like, that's Takaru, isn't it? I'm not sure if he couldn't tell because he had a mask on or everything, but he was very very surprised by it, as everybody was, because that is what people have been wanting to see for like the last 5 years, which is funny to think about because Tension's only 22, and that's how good he was back then, and still is very good. But Takaru right up there with the absolute best kickboxers in the world, next to Tension, and it looks like we're finally getting some very serious movement and momentum towards this fight. An absolute massive fantasy bout in kickboxing that would have to take place in the Tokyo Dome if possible. But of course, these guys do both have fights lined up next before that, which they'll have to get through and not get injured. I mean, I was seeing Tension also said something about his knee or whatever's a little bit sore from this beatdown he just put on Kumandoy. So it's kind of an early tease, because of where we are now and what they have ahead of them and everything. But if it can be pulled off, it has to go down on that event. And boy, it would be insane. And the biggest possible matchup and challenger that could be presented to Tension. And if he can win that one easily, then he should just retire. Like that would be insane.
Well, I'm going to try and find a picture of that meeting. John, is Tension at the point now where I'll put myself on screen? Like he needs this kind of mega fight, right? Because what else do you do with Tension? He's still so young as well. It's crazy to think. I think he's 40-0 now, unbeaten. The only blemish really was that Floyd Mayweather freak show thing they did a couple of years ago. Was this also some sort of, I don't want to say redemption for that, but maybe this fight against the one they're doing in March, that could really wipe the memory of the Mayweather thing out of people's minds?
No, that will never wipe anybody's memory of the Mayweather fight. Tension was bawling his eyes out, man. Like after that fight. That was hard to watch, to be honest with you. Really hard to watch. Because you could tell Tension probably put in the hardest camp to try to match that skill level of Mayweather. And Mayweather was playing around.
Mm-hmm.
That's the craziest part.
Yeah, that's
Tension
a
is at
demoralizer.
the highest level of kickboxing. And he went against Mayweather, and Mayweather was playing around and knocked him out, right? And it was just hard to watch. And him, props to him from come back from that and just stay at the same level as he did in kickboxing, right? And yes, he's beating everybody that they bring to Japan. But the thing is, Tension needs to leave Japan. He needs to leave. He needs to go internationally and fight internationally. I think there's a couple more fights that he can do in Japan, and then maybe if he goes internationally and fights some of the guys out there in their home countries, and defeats them, and then he could bring the bigger names back to Japan, fight for Rise, whatever promotion that he wants to fight for. But he does need to go and do a world tour. He needs the world tour. Like, that's how you're gonna get big. You got to go to the US. You have to go to US. US, doesn't matter who you fight. Go fight in Vegas. Go fight in MSG. You got to go to London. Go fight in Wembley. Go fight, just anywhere. Go to Holland. Fight in Holland. Go to Russia. Fight in Russia. Whoever that they have. Whoever's the most popular fighter at the weight division. He needs to also add some size. Maybe go up a weight class so he can fight in different divisions, right? Because he's running out of opponents. And that's the problem right now. He's running out of opponents. And that's what he needs to do to grow his stardom. You know what I mean? It's not going to get taller. So it's not like he's going to be, fighting at like 155 or 170, but, 125, 135, maybe even 145 in those around that area, he could probably fight, you know what I mean? Maybe get his body up to the point where he's like walking around at like 145, so he could fight guys at 145 around that weight class. The Rod Tank fight is something. Yes, Chris, I see you. It's something that is a possibility. But that I think that would only happen in one championship.
Yeah.
And I don't.
So that
I
means
think
it's not going to happen.
doesn't want to be exclusive. I don't feel Tension wants to be exclusive with any promotion because he knows his stardom. He knows his path, and his path is going to be much bigger than just fighting for one promotion. So he needs to spread his wings, and if he doesn't, that's what's gonna be that asterisk next to his name if he actually does retire, is that he never went across the ponds and challenged these guys. This is Street Fighter, man. Tension is one of the characters on Street Fighter, and you gotta go to the other countries and fight those guys. You cannot just stay in your island and say you come here. It's okay. You gotta be like Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon and go to another spot and fight these guys. Tension, that's my advice to you. You know what I mean? You've done what you did, and you just got to leave, man. You got to go to enemy territory. You got to feel that pressure, different pressure. And he's still young, like you guys said, so he has a lot of time. And you can't protect him forever inside of Saitama Super Arena. You got to put him somewhere else. So that's what I see. That's what I want to see. The fight last night, it was a good fight. I thought the Thai, he did a decent job. He was competitive. It was just that Tension was much more powerful, and under kickboxing rules, just Tension rules, if that makes sense.
Well, got to say thank you to Rizin for those pictures there, and also
shout
Chris,
out to Shingo, man. Shout out to Shingo,
the man.
He's the man. He's the connection. He's the bridge, and
dude,
without him.
That guy, man, he's there at the events, and he even jumps in on my intermission shows last night.
Really?
While he's live there at the show, he pops in and leaves some comments. He's just all over the place.
Yes, so I have to thank Shingo. He Andy Whitelaw hooked me up with his media code for the broadcast, and then Andy couldn't use his own code, so Shingo hooked him up with another code. Very nice of them to let us both watch the show. Thank you, Rizin. I really enjoyed it. Yes, what was I going to say? Chris, there you go. Chris was around my house last night. I hope you enjoyed the party, Chris. And the head is not too sore this morning.
Was it a popped and popcorn type of night?
No.
Like Chris Allen? Not Chris Allen. Craig Allen likes to say.
A little barbecue. We listened to the local
you
RT8K.
got barbecued, not a little barbecue. You got barbecued, right?
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to say it. Why don't we move on then?
Thanks for the parties.
Yeah. Does he? Oh, I missed the comment there. Thanks for the party. Yeah, thank you, Chris, for coming. It was a real pleasure to host you. Let's go. Let's get into this. There was a little bit better news there for the Asakuras. Mikuru Asakura defeating Satoshi Yamasu via TKO by strikes in the first round as well. Drake, take it away. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, this was vintage Mikuru. This is what I told you was going to happen, John. I told you, man. You doubted me. I called it. Let me toot my own horn this time. He looked great, man. This was vintage Mikuru Asakura finished it by head kick, as we've seen him before in the past. Just a beautiful ending to this fight. Yamasu tried to implement that game plan that, has been the common problem for Mikuru by getting in his face, making him uncomfortable, be aggressive, which is just kind of how Yamasu only knows how to fight for the most part from what we've seen. And, he had some brief moments. The fight, of course, was only a round and everything, but he took what looked like an eye poke late. And then after that, just Mikuru put him away beautifully. But I think that was inevitable no matter what. And he still got it. I mean, I don't think there were any doubts from some people anyway that he wasn't still gonna be able to hang in there and want to get that rematch with Saito, as he's been asking for since the fight a month ago or whenever that was. So he looked good, man. A bummer for Yamasu, the salary man, the company man, but I think he'll be back. It was no shame in that loss, but a bummer for him. He was very sad as well. He was kind of breaking down after the loss, but it happens, man.
I have another question for you. Sorry, Drake. Have you been to bed yet? I think you were up all day yesterday. You started with our live chat preview, and then you watched the whole show.
Dude, yesterday was nuts for me, man. I had 4 total live shows, so I pretty much woke up, and then I don't know if I got to eat before the first one, so I did that for like an hour and a half, and then I had 30 minutes before coming on with you guys, so I ate something really quickly, did that, and then Rizin started. Then the intermission shows I had, it was just like a whole lot going on. It was kind of a crazy day for me, but yes, I did get to sleep actually. So now I'm here, and John hit me up and appreciate it, and I thankfully had only had 1 drink for New Year's so far, so I'm back to sober at the moment. So finish that off after this.
10, sorry, what
it is 10 right now.
10 p.m. Okay.
Yep.
Not too bad. We won't drink. We'll if it's possible. John, sorry. I interrupted you there. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, just I try to go off on the deep end a little bit and took
the gut feeling.
Yeah, the gut feeling and he when I interviewed him, I didn't get to interview Mikuru, and when I interviewed Yamasu, I was like, man, this guy's a nice guy, man. I'm gonna go for him, like I'm gonna support him. Like that's the pick right there. I want to support him, and I posed some questions about Asakura, like is his motivation there and all these things, and he proved to me, he proved to me that his motivation's there, and he even said after the fight, 2021, man, I'm gonna show everybody that, like I haven't lost a step. This is me, and I'm gonna go after that belt, and I'm excited to see what he can do with this like newfound vision of himself, and man, that was a nasty knockout. That was like I think that was probably the knockout of the night, right? Is because it was that head kick. Come on, it's hard to go against a head kick knockout, right? Was there any better knockouts earlier in the night?
We got that sweet soccer kick from Kuramoto after the Minnow Man fight.
That's right, but under the circumstances,
right?
Under the circumstances of like what position Asakura was in, you know what I mean? Like I feel like this was a better knockout, and it was just fun, man. That was a fun fight, and I hope that they give another shot to Yamasu, in Rizin early next year, to kind of show that he's a legit fighter. He's a decent fighter. It's not like he can't hang with some of the better guys. I don't want this to be our only memory of him in the Rizin ring, and I feel like that. I think that emotion probably came over him after the fight. Like, I know I'm better than this. I could have done better. And, when fighters show their emotions like that, it just shows you, man, that they put a lot into these camps, dude. They sacrifice a lot, and mentally it's draining more, I think, more than physically. And then afterwards, when you win or when you lose, it comes out, pouring out. You know what I mean? Like, you seen guys win and get really emotional after a win, even though it's not even like they're on the prelims. It's not even a title shot or nothing. It's just a fight that they had to win in their mind. And I just want that. You'll never see the Asakura brothers crying, really, right? Especially Mikuru. You'll never see him crying. It doesn't matter what he does. He's not like that type of guy. Kai, I could see it. Like, was he kind of emotional after he lost?
He looked pretty bummed. I don't know if he was crying though.
Yeah, but
understandable.
It is what it is, man. Like, they need to make that rematch. Like, that's the next fight to make. Nothing else. Like Drake was saying that in the preview show. They need to make that rematch right away when they can. When the
Get that one
guys
in the
fully
Tokyo
healed.
Dome.
Yeah, that has to happen. But I have a lot of I have a lot of promise in that division though. And we're gonna talk about one of the guys that's in that division that fought earlier that night. And we talked about him and we told you to watch him and look what he did, right? But I don't want to say his name, but we're gonna talk about earlier. So let's I guess we can move on.
Yes, let's move on. I'll bring up the results again. There's not a lot of comments. I just have to say in the chat here about the Shibata. Was it a work or anything? We'll get to that later. The burning topic of the day, but we're just trying to go through this reverse chronologically. Takanori Gomi defeating Kyoji Tanaka via majority decision. Drake, you got any arguments with the result there?
I can't argue because I actually thought this fight was being scored regularly. So regularly, I mean Japanese, rules, the universal rule set or whatever it's called, where they judge it as a whole. But apparently, it was round by round. So in my mind, I wasn't scoring this as a round by round fight, and I thought that I was leaning towards Kyoji getting the win. So I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it again with that in mind, but this fight was awesome, man. This was the fight of the night for me. They really just started unloading as the fight went on. No defense just went out the window, and we were seeing some of those classic epic Fireball Kid fire fists, the haymakers coming out. But I'm not mad at it going either way. I saw a lot of people were kind of like, yeah, right, Gomi should not have won that. But again, I'll have to watch it with the rule sets in mind, and how they scored it and everything. But this fight was awesome. It definitely outdid my expectations. It was hard to imagine what was going to happen because of all the ridiculous parameters that were set, but this delivered big time for me. I'm very happy with the outcome we got here.
Well, we got a comment here. I guess a question. Sorry, I guess I'll throw that to you, John. Guys, do you think the Gomi fight was fair, considering he was much larger than Kyoji?
Well, I feel like all these fights are pretty fair because these fighters signed the contracts under these circumstances. Like every fight, one thing about Rizin that I love this is that every fight it's different. Like the weight is different, the rule set is different. So you got to really watch like when they explain or whenever the fights come out of like what is allowed and what's not allowed. Earlier in the night, the curtain jerker was was it Sudario?
Mm-hmm.
Sudario versus Minowa Man, right? And that actually had a lot of like special rules in that fight too. You know what I mean? Like there's some of the fights the elbows are not allowed. Some of the fights are elbows allowed. Some of the fights you can have soccer kicks. Some of them you cannot have soccer kicks. Knees to a ground opponent. It all depends, right? So I think when these guys agree to fights, these fighters, they sign off on everything, and it's fair and square for them. You know what I mean? Like it's Japanese MMA. You've seen guys fight like Hoist Gracie fought that big 500-pound dude, right? Like that's just part of these special little one-offs that Rizin does, right? And didn't we? Yeah, we had one earlier. The YouTuber, right? The YouTuber that was just one-off. Just that's what they do. You know what I mean? You just gotta accept it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. But Gomi, what's not good about this is that Gomi's gonna probably want to fight again now.
Right.
That's what's not good about this, and he's gonna want to fight somebody that is gonna be a serious threat. You know what I mean? And the same size, and that might not be a very good thing for for him because I don't know, man. I don't really like. I don't say you know me, guys. I don't ever say fighters should retire. But if you haven't been fighting for a long time and you're kind of getting up there in age and you've had like a certain amount of fights, it's probably just better to keep with the exhibitions and not kind of step into the ring against these like young, established killers. You know what I mean? Like, because they're looking at you like straight up raw meat. You know what I mean? And they want to barbecue your ass in that ring in front of like 20,000, 30,000 fans. And Gomi has a big name. So I hope he doesn't like get step back in there, with the like one of the young bucks and just get man. I just hope he doesn't get decapitated. And just That's my final thoughts on it. But if he does come back out there, I'll watch it. And I'll watch it,
Well,
man. It's Gomi.
Arthur Antonio Nguyen says that I believe a 31-year-old fighter in his prime should have been able to beat a washed 42 Gomi, but I'm happy for Gomi winning. And also says happy New Year.
If he had
That's
kicks
Luke, sorry.
allowed, I think he would have definitely been able to put him away.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on down this card then. Naoki Inoue defeating Yuki Mottoyo via submission rear naked choke in round 1. Very impressive stuff, wasn't it, Drake?
Yeah, no, Naoki looked phenomenal there. He's kind of how we imagined. He started out this fight as we thought that he should have, right? Try and strike and outstrike Mottoyo for the fight as much as he could, and then once it hit the ground, though, we knew that would be fun, and each guy had a chance to get his position there, but. Geez, the way that Naoki was just able to snatch up rear naked so quickly and transition to the back and everything. The guy is looking very good and very dangerous for, his age. He's progressing a lot, just better and better with each fight. This was a perfect example of it. He's dangerous everywhere now. I think it's fair to say that. Not that Yuki's like the best striker or anything, but Naoki was looking very, very clean and crisp with his technique and all that. And, got Yuki to shoot in on him, which, ended poorly for him. So, very, very good performance to make it 4 in a row for Naoki. And as we've been saying, earned a title shot, most likely, depending on how things shake out with the champ and everything. But he's definitely earned his spot to be one fight away at the very least. He is looking so good right now. And just the biggest win of his career.
We got a question here from Puguru in the comments. I guess I'll throw it to you, John. Would you do Naoki versus Gooch next?
Yeah, I think that makes logical sense, man. Since Naoki has come into what is it? Rizin, right? He's on the streak, right? I think he's won 3 in a row, if I'm correct.
This was 4.
And this is 4. Yeah, 4 in a row, man, in Rizin against like some legit talent too. He beat Trent Girdham, who is one of the highest ranked prospects coming out of Australia, you know what I mean? And he beat him. He beat Yuki. Who did he beat before Yuki?
Shuto Watanabe with 140 rear naked.
Yeah, and man, he submitted Yuki too, which we thought wasn't gonna happen. We thought Naoki was gonna win with his boxing, right? And it looked like that's what he was going for. And then when it hit the ground, Yuki looked like he shouldn't even been there with Naoki, right? So we saw something that about Naoki. We always knew he was good on the ground, but maybe that showed us that he's really like that high level on the ground. So it's an interesting fight, man. And I think that length and then overall skill set that that Naoki possesses, it makes the Horiguchi fight fun, man. It makes it fun and it makes it interesting, and I'm down for it. I want to see it. But it all depends, man, if Rizin wants it. But me, I will do that fight next. I think that makes sense. And probably Drake, I think you said earlier that makes sense, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll move on again then. Kleber Koike defeating Kyle.
Well, hold on, Nick. You skipped one of my favorite moments, honestly.
Oh, have I?
The other title fight, man.
Fuck, I have. Sorry. Sorry for the story. Ayaka Hamasaki. Am I doing? Oh God, I'm all over the place today. Sorry, guys. Yeah, we got a new atomweight champion there. Take it away, Drake. Ayaka Hamasaki.
Ayaka Hamasaki, man. I mean, I cannot say enough good things about this woman. This performance was absolutely incredible. She's the GOAT, man. This just further solidifies it for me. The best atomweight ever. I mean, a virtually flawless performance. She ate one solid punch from Miyu, and that's about it. But just the way, submission of the year, it's a head scissors submission. We talked about it in the pre-fight how Yamasu is like the only person that I've ever seen do it, and then she pulls it off in a championship fight at the highest level against somebody who is no joke. Just the way it all started out. Miyu goes for the single leg instantly in defense. Ayaka grabs the arm to go for like the Kimura, get that set up, and just slowly works and weaves her way into this position which eventually ends up looking like an armbar, but then opens up a head scissors of all things, and she forces the tap. It was insane, man. In only a minute and 42 seconds. This was a colossal bummer for Miyu and, the family on that night, but Ayaka is something else, dude. If just at 38 years old and looking better than ever and already Hall of Fame legendary career, it's insane. Like, she's gonna go out on top, I think, at this point, especially since I don't see anybody else giving her a close fight aside from Ham, who is apparently out of the picture now. We'll see what happens there, but if you want to break down who's the GOAT between them two, you look at how Ayaka is finishing more and more in this stage of her career, where Ham has been finishing more in the latter half as well. But I don't know, man. She's something else. I cannot be any more impressed with Ayaka Hamasaki. Big congratulations to her, the champ, once again.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that one out, Drake. I was saying to John earlier, my brain is not working very well today. Yes, did not sleep too much. I don't know why. I woke up at 8 a.m. I thought I could go through to 10, but my body just seems to be trained on 8 a.m. whatever happens. Yes, sorry, John. Please weigh in here. Very impressive, wasn't it?
Oh, definitely. We talked about it, and we were thinking like, okay, Yamamoto needs to go in there and wrestle hard, and that backfired, right, in this fight. And we thought that that could be a possibility too, right? Because it's like if they start trading in the stand up, you have to give the edge to Hamasaki. And once the takedowns started to, once the takedowns started to happen, man, you just saw like how squirmy and scrambly and just the knowledge on the ground is just 15 levels above, right?
Instantly attacking.
Yeah, instantly. And that's what you see in a type of fighter like Hamasaki. And when you look at the GOATs, right, of the atomweight division, and even just the lower weight classes overall, you have to put her, in the top 3. You have to, right? It's just, if you don't, then you don't watch that weight division, those weight divisions carefully enough, and you haven't been watching MMA long enough to understand why she belongs there, right? So with this fight, yes, Miyu, it was a great fight. It was a championship fight. Miyu Yamamoto, she came in challenging, for the title, because I felt like this was Hamasaki's fight to lose, not like to win. Like, it's already in my mind, like, okay, she's gonna win this fight. There's like levels to this game, and she showed it in this fight. Okay, there's always the chance, but look at the records, man. It's 21-3 versus 6-5, right? There's a reason why she won so quickly at this in this fight. So GOAT status wise, right, for atomweights, if Ham goes over to one championship and fights over there, and she just like runs the table and smashes Angela Lee and everybody, Denise Zambawanga, and these are like the next generation, a new level of fighters, right? If she goes in there and beats all of them, I feel like that would elevate her status above Hamasaki. Because if you look at the divisions of Rizin versus of one championship atomweight wise, and it's almost like Ham is going over there. She's an atomweight, but these girls that are an atomweight, they're actually strawweights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be realistic, right? And she does go over there and beat all these girls and in impressive fashion. I feel like that says more to her GOAT status. But these are ifs, right? These are ifs. But if we're looking at it right now, these girls are neck and neck, man. They're neck and neck, right? But you could give a slight edge to Hamasaki. A slight edge, right? I'm going to be real with you. You could give a slight edge. If Ham retires now and Hamasaki continues fighting, then there's no argument. Hamasaki is the GOAT, like clear, right? Because Hamasaki did beat Ham twice before the last fight, right? And the last fight was really close, and it was razor thin. I was there. And, I'm a homer, like Koreans all day, but come on, I'm going to be realistic to you. That was razor thin. It could have went either way, right? So if you look at Hamasaki and her path right now, she could fight Reina, but Reina, I don't know if she'll fight Reina because they're like teammates. They're like friends, right? Am I right?
Yeah. No,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that fight will ever happen. But that would actually add to her legacy.
Kana Asakura. Arthur is asking in the comments.
All right.
Do you think she could beat Hamasaki What do you think?
Well, we'll get to that. That's later
Yeah.
on the line, right? So we'll get back to that, Arthur. We're gonna go in deep into that. But yes, Kana, she's another one that's there. But Hamasaki beat Kana already, right? And if she fights her again and beats her, and Kana's much better now than she was before, and if she beats her a little more devastatingly, and then it just continues Hamasaki's elevation in the status of being the GOAT. And if Ham never fights, then there's no argument, man. I'm telling you, there's no argument. But if Ham goes to one championship and runs that table and beats like all the young prospects, the young girls that have established themselves, then it's neck and neck, man. Like it's hard to. We could argue all day about it, right, Drake? Like,
Yeah, I just want to see the fourth fight so goddamn badly.
yeah, we all do, right? And Dana White, did you see the interview that he said in with the Schmo yesterday? He said that the Schmo asked him like, what's more likely? Is it featherweight rankings or the atomweight division? And Dana
That
White
was how
said,
he asked it.
yeah, and then that's how he asked it. And Dana White said that he's thrown around the idea of the atomweight division. He said that out of his mouth.
I like that.
So the only way to see them would be them both to be in the UFC in an atomweight division if they open that up. And I think like one major reason why the UFC would not have an atomweight division is because they can't have Hamasaki and they can't have Ham. And those are the
they
two
shouldn't
best in
if
the
they
world.
can't have them. They should not make a division if they cannot have the best.
That's what
Because
I'm saying.
yeah, us who know and follow the division, everything, it would be a sham. Them trying to promote, oh, we have all the best atom weights when you clearly don't. If you don't have those two and everything, right? It's just like I don't want to see a watered down version of this that takes away from everything else that we get to see normally. If you're going to do it, you have to be able to collect up everybody and make this a legit division. We don't need to see another, kind of a start to the flyweight division where they did not at all grab the first, the best that they could for the tough season that they had. So it's like, I don't want to see atomweight in the UFC unless they can, unfortunately, it would have to be, taken away from everybody else. And I don't know. I still don't see it happening. I don't know why he's kind of all of a sudden, talking about this idea. But Shingo brought up a good point on Broad Horizon. Shout out to my show. But he said that he doesn't think that it's going to happen because of like the promotional side of things. Like you got to think about all of these atom weights, these top atom weights. Not most of them aren't English speakers, right? So from a promotional standpoint, in an English-based promotion, it's going to be hard for them to sell these non-English speakers and these smaller people, however they want to do it. So like that's why I think the perfect time to open atomweight in the UFC was when Jin Yu Fry was champion in 2018, like December 2018, perfect time to do it. Missed the boat completely because they could have taken from Invicta. They still can, but they've lost people since then. Jin's still there at strawweight now, but I think, her time is kind of past just in MMA overall, unfortunately. And of course, people would drop down from strawweight, but it wouldn't be enough. I don't think it would be enough, So that's just my take on it. It's such a, I don't know why he's entertaining it now. Maybe he will start it, but I think that hurts everything in the grand scheme.
Well, WMMA scene agrees with you. They should have the division. They shouldn't have the division if they can't have the best, I think. But that doesn't mean the UFC won't drive the narrative that they have the best. Yes, guys, what do you think? What stops the UFC from just doing what they've done this year and signing a bunch of up-and-comers and then saying they're the best in the world?
Because social media will pull their card. They will pull their card. Whoever becomes champion at atomweight will just tell them like, okay, there's these two girls sitting in Asia. Their names are Hamasaki and Ham, which are very, very similar names. And these are the best ever. Not even just like the best in the world, but best ever in the division and the best in the world right now that are still fighting in these other promotions and is much better than whoever you could bring to the table as a champion. And it's going to be all online. People are going to eat it all up. And Dana and all those people, they're watching what's happening online. They say like, "Oh, I don't know what's
we
going
saw
on."
that video. We saw that video, John.
Yeah.
Watching what we say.
Yeah, exactly. So it is what it is, man. Like if they do make it, people in the know, they know that they're not going to have the best fighters if they don't have Ham and Hamasaki there. And if they fight 3 times in the UFC, I would love to see that. You know what I mean? Because it's just fresh. Because most people don't even know that these girls exist. To be honest with you, this is just the reality of the sport, right? Most people, casual people, don't know that they exist. And if you have them fight 3 more times in the UFC, it could be one of the craziest trilogies of all time, right? Where they're fighting for the title, and one loses, and then they climb back up and fight again, and the other loses, and they climb back. Because the thing about these girls is that they're up in age, but they haven't slowed down any. And arguably they're getting better with age, right? And they're fighting at the weight division that they're supposed to. So yes, you know, like we could talk UFC all day, but let's go back to the card and
one more note I want to make.
3 hours, right? Like I don't want to be here for 3 hours talking about what could be possible. But yes, let's go to the next one.
Okay, we'll go back to that one I tried to go to before and skipped over Hamasaki accidentally. Kleber defeated Kyle Aguion by submission. Das choke round 1. Drake, what did you make of Kleber Quaker's performance?
Brilliance. I mean, this was what we expected to see out of him. Or I mean, just from both of these guys, because on the feet, you know, it was pretty competitive. I thought, you know, Kyle was doing just fine on the feet, hanging in there, giving some and taking some, which was his best area to win the fight, of course. But what it turns out, you know, that he ends up being the one who gets clipped and dropped, and that quickly results into an opening for Kleber, snatches up the Darce, and boy, that thing was tight. That was so tight, he knew it was a wrap as soon as he locked it in. Speaking to the camera, looking right at it as he's choking a man unconscious. Just complete savagery from him. Sucks, you know, to see Kyle go out that way, but that's Kleber, man, an absolute monster on the ground. You know, as I was saying on the preview show, this guy's one of the best BJJ practitioners at featherweight in the world. You put him up there with Ryan Hall and Bryce Mitchell, even though it sounds funny to put Bryce Mitchell in that category with those guys, but, you know, we've seen he's very good on the ground too. But in terms of submission artists, you know, he is absolutely one of the best in the world, and just such a fun addition to the featherweight division in Rizin. Great debut for him. You know, that's exactly what he needed to do to justify the hype.
He reminds me of Gumby when he's punching, when he's throwing. It was wild.
Yeah,
man.
he is
like,
very
just,
loose.
He's so unorthodox. Like when he's punching, his striking is, you know, a lot of people could, if he was fighting in the UFC, they would be just talking crazy about it, right? It's just so wild. Like it's just he needs to work on it, right? And he probably does, but he probably works on his ground way more than he works on, you know, any kind of striking. But you know, it's almost like he doesn't even need to. It's almost like he's just waiting for these guys to just be like, all right, punch me in the face and I'll act like I'm hurt and then I'll fall, and then you come into my guard and let me just kill you there, right? And man, this guy, he's a monster, man, on the ground, man. It was almost like going back to Horiguchi, easy fight. Dude, like when it hit the ground, it was like easy fight. It was like his arms just went in there like butter, just slid in like slippery. It was just like, it's almost like, you know, like one of those like you know, those machines with all the latches on. You know, it's almost like that. It's like like it was like that. Like I heard that in my mind when he was putting it in, right? And Kyle has never been finished in his career. He has like what? He's 13-10. That's 23 fights. He's never been finished. It's the first time he's ever been finished, and he was choked unconscious. So it just shows you Kleber, man. People, I hope they start to pay attention to this guy, because he is, and he's fought really high level guys in the past. He's actually fought a friend of the show, the head coach of Tiger Muay Thai, George Hickman. He actually fought him when George was fighting, and George lost a decision to him. So, and George is like buddies with Kleber. They, you know, whenever he's down in Thailand, he trains. And George is the one who told me about Kleber first, like years ago. He's like, dude, this dude Kleber, he's a magician. Like he's Houdini on the ground. Like he's really good. And we saw it. So that's good that everybody gets to see it, that saw this event. And this one makes the featherweight division more interesting. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? There was a guy earlier that fought Kleber against what's his name?
Mikuru,
yeah, Asakura. You know, Kleber against what is it? Satoshi. That could be a possibility, right? Have Satoshi come back, fight Kleber. prove himself against Clever. Like there's so many like matchups now. What about Musayev's training partner? I don't even know his name. It's like a very long name.
Yeah, I know. I always
But
forget
I
his
don't.
name
Yeah.
too.
What about him? What would he come back if they're gonna allow foreigners to come into the next event? Fight Clever. There's so many like interesting matchups for this featherweight division. I'm waiting for for them to see what they do with it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, and then Kyle gets choked unconscious, and this is another narrative that he gets choked unconscious. He wakes up like he went to sleep the night before, and he goes and corners Miyu Yamamoto for her title fight. Do you guys think psychologically that had an effect on her?
It's not ideal, is it?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. I don't even.
Someone's got to step in there, I think, and stop that happening.
You think so?
Yeah,
You think that
I
they
think
should
so.
not do that?
It's probably not the best thing to do after that. I
What
don't
about
know.
Alex Morono? He loses to Pettis, and he was almost knocked out in that fight, and then he goes in and corners Jeff Neal in the main event. Do you remember that recently?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like when it turns out badly, we can say like, "Oh, this shouldn't happen." But when it turns out good, then it's like, "Oh, it's okay." Right? That's MMA, right?
Yep.
I suppose at the moment it's more necessary because I guess you can't get so many people over to Japan or whatever, and you can only have a certain amount of people in the corner. I guess that might be playing a part. I think in one championship you're only allowed one person, aren't you, to bring over to the events in Singapore. I don't know. That might be a shortage of available people to help out. That's just my take, but may not
Also,
actually
like they
have
did
anything
like a
to do with it.
2-week quarantine at their home.
Yeah, quarantines. Yeah.
Yeah, a 2-week quarantine, right? It's not even like a 48-hour quarantine. It was a 2-week quarantine at home. I don't think that's helping anybody. And that could be something that people need to consider if they do go over to Japan to fight. It's like, okay, you can have Mike Brown said it. He's the coach, right? For Horiguchi. He
Horiguchi,
sat in
yeah.
a 2-week quarantine himself, right? But he's not fighting. But still, like 2-week quarantine
Got
is
to
tough.
say, like, big ups to him for doing that.
He
He missed
sacrificed
his
his Christmas,
family
dude.
holiday. Yeah, jeez.
What a
But I
coach.
think I saw something he said. He was sick and tired of people underrating Horiguchi. I think he really wanted to be there for that moment, and it paid off.
Easy fight.
Easy fight. Well, yes, I hope Mr. Brown can go back and have some turkey with the family and good.
No, you know what is going to happen is he's going to fly directly to Fight Island, most likely.
Really?
'Cause
Yeah, true.
Poirier and like all those guys, like there's a bunch of American top team guys fighting that week, 3 events. So that guy,
Well,
he's dedicated, man. He's
Yeah.
one of the best coaches. Like he's one of the best coaches, probably by the time it's all said and done ever. Because if you go through the list of who he's brought up, you know, what I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. Let's go to the next one. Ren Hiramoto.
Yeah. Here we go. Ren Hiramoto lost TKO corner stoppage. Kyohei Hagiwara round 2. Drake, we'll start with you again. What do you make of this?
So this was exactly what Hagiwara needed to do, right? As I was saying again, I feel like I know a little bit of something, but I have to toot my own horn. But if Hiramoto, the more refined and just better technically lethal striker of the two, both very dangerous and good strikers, but the smart path to victory here for Hagiwara, the guy with more MMA experience, the guy who's been actually working on his ground game more so recently, to take the fight to the ground. I just didn't think it was going to happen practically immediately. The guys both met in the center of the ring, like split second in there, and each connect with like a right hand. Looks like Hagiwara goes down to a knee as he attacks in with the double leg, and genius idea to him not to play around whatsoever. Of course, the bad blood was probably, fueling him to be like, all right, I'm going to smash this clown. And, he went and he did that after getting flipped off with the roll in of the finger to start things off. And then, yeah, it was just, it was an MMA guy, a newly turned MMA guy, with a striking background in Hagiwara versus the debuting, striker in Hiromoto, who didn't have that experience on the ground yet, and it got exposed. It's good to see that Hagiwara does have this growing skill in his back pocket, but I don't think it says too much because not like Hiromoto had a lot of defense or anything. Kind of reminds me of, Antonina Shevchenko beating Ariane Lipsky a little bit. So great win for him. A big halt to a potential superstar for Hiromoto, and just builds his star all that much better. And what a celebration he had with whipping out the samurai swords a little bit. Tito Ortiz asking that, getting a very good feeling victory for him.
Okay, John, please weigh in here. I'm just going through these comments here. There's a big debate in the comments about talking about this 2-week quarantine and comparing fighting to. I think they're talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling. They got a show coming up at the Tokyo Dome on January 4th. I do love a bit of New Japan. I'll be watching that. But yes, John, please weigh in here.
Yeah, Drake said it perfectly. Hagiwara went in there and did what he needed to do, take the fight to the ground. And Hiromoto, he did do a decent job for a while, but then it just seemed like he gassed out. You know what I mean? And just couldn't get up. And I think the corner throw in the towel?
Yeah, they threw in the little blue tube, whatever that is. It's the equivalent of the towel.
They threw in the blue Fifi. And
can I just say, I love the beanbag throne chair.
Yeah.
We need to get one of those.
Props. Yeah, I need one in my life, man. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, just that's what it was, man. And I think the corner, they did a good job of throwing that in there, because why take just the unnecessary damage? And that's what was going to happen. They probably knew that he was just gassed, from that fight, and could have been him losing all that weight and training at the same time and dieting, and that could have affected. I don't know, maybe it did. But Hiromoto, man, he's a guy to watch no matter what. He kind of reminds me of Top Noi. Top Noi, he's another guy that went from Muay Thai to MMA, and he's doing pretty good for himself. And I think Hiromoto will do the same. I think this first loss is just a lesson learned on what he needs to do and what he needs to work on. But his striking is so good that once he gets his defense on the ground crafted really well, he's gonna have fun in that cage. He's gonna have a lot of highlights, man. And they're gonna have this rematch eventually in the future, man. Because these guys probably still have bad blood. They still probably don't like each other. And Risen's gonna work that up. So let's see what Hiromoto. Don't judge him too quickly, because this is only his first fight, and it was on one of the biggest stages that you could put yourself on as a debut fighter, right, in MMA at a New Year's Eve show. So don't put too much. But props to Hagiwara for his game planning and his execution. And he got the win, man. That's what it was most important. Because if he was just stroking his ego, they would have just stood there and threw hammers at each other, right? And just they were just in this brawl, and it could have become like one of the fights of the year, to be honest with you, if that's what they did. But Hagiwara was like, man, I'm not taking my chances with brain damage. Let me get to the ground and take this fight, right? But on the bright side, though, Hiromoto did get up a few times. It might not have been the prettiest, but he did get up a few times off the ground, when he had the energy to. But he got gas first, so we'll see what happens. Let's go to the next.
Yeah, by my count, 8 more fights. What a long card. I think I'm probably giving Drake PTSD from all those intermissions he had to do, and the how many hours of shows did you do yesterday, Drake?
Let's see here. Let's see. How long did we went for? About
2 hours. We did
2 hours there, an hour 30 before that, plus another hour and a half, I think, or two. A good couple. A good couple. Maybe as long as the Rizin show. So.
All right, well, we'll try and streamline the rest of these then. How about this? Hideo Takaru defeating Shinobu Ota via submission and armbar in the second round. We'll go to Drake first again. Or let's mix it up. I'm going to throw it to Mr. John. You can start us off.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of you play with fire and you're going to get burned. And that's what he did. He played with fire. And it kind of... Takaru that's what he does, man. Like, he finds a way when you get to the ground of just getting into these positions to where he's already had the submission locked up, and there's like no chance of you even getting out of it. And we've seen him do it many times. And this wrestler, he was actually doing a pretty good job in the fight. He was winning the fight, and then just that little mistake, man, that little that little sense of confidence, like I'm gonna go to the ground or whatever, and then this guy he's like a corkscrew. He just spins around and twirls, and then all of a sudden he's like, what happened? And it looked like he jacked up his arm pretty bad. That was like a belly down arm bar, right? And I've gotten caught in belly down arm bars, and I've been stupid, and I've gotten my arm popped too for not tapping quick enough. And that dude probably didn't tap quick enough, and that's why he was carrying his arm, and he was sensitive with his arm after the fight. So yeah, there's not much to say. This played out like most people thought it would.
Yep, Drake, weigh in here. Or anything else to add?
This is just what Takaru does, man. If you look at his last so many wins, he hasn't been very active in MMA in recent years. Plenty of grappling that he's done. So many matches he's had in the last couple of years, as opposed to MMA fights. Just one, I believe, in like the last 2 or 3. But in his recent wins, he was fighting in the same kind of situation against these superstar wrestlers who were making their debuts, and he upset them. He upset them all, except for the exception of maybe 1 or 2. But here he was at it again, and just that experience and that ground savvy was it was a perfect matchup to make, in terms of the styles and everything. But the age and wisdom in overall MMA prevailed. So props to Hideo Takaru, who was just always entertaining to watch. But I didn't think Ota looked too bad either. Like John was saying, I thought he did pretty well. All things considered, he ate a pretty gnarly upkick there in the first round, but he kept on ticking. So I'm very excited to see what he does after this. But no shame in that loss against a guy of 65 veteran like Takaru. So yeah.
All right. Yoshinari Nadaka defeating Pet Malai via strikes. Round 1 TKO. Yeah, we keep rolling here. Drake, we'll start with you again.
Man, this was just beautiful, dude. I mean, Yoshinari, those elbows were just chef's kiss. That was beautiful, dude. So he dropped him with, I think it was the second or third elbow that he landed coming in, and just put him to his knees. I mean, Fet Malai had really nothing for him. The speed difference was insane for Yoshinari. Just such a great performance from him. Ended up finishing it with the third or fourth knockdown, however many it was. But he was pretty much flawless in this one. I would recommend checking this out. One of the best performances of the night, if you missed it, just from a striking standpoint, and if you love some just crispy elbows, man, that was awesome to watch.
Yeah, John, have you got anything to add, or are we moving on? John KL says, Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year, John KL. What's up?
Yes, Happy New Year, buddy. I missed this fight. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even watch it. Like that was like break time or something. I don't even remember. I didn't even remember this fight even happening.
Check it out, John.
I was checking out already at the 7th fight. Like I was like, oh, was this between the intermission? I don't know, but
this was after Sasaki, and then into the intermission between Ota and Takaru.
Well, I guess so. I'm gonna be, full discretion, man. I didn't even remember this happening. I don't remember it happening. Like, it was one thing I can tell you is it wasn't a good night for the Thais, right?
Yeah,
that's what I say.
That's for sure.
But they're brave going over to Japan and fighting these guys in their home territory. That's one thing for sure. But yeah, that's I can't add nothing to this. Like, I'm useless.
All right. I'll take it further then. Uruka Sasaki defeating Kenta Takizawa via unanimous decision. Impressive stuff coming back from that big jaw injury, Drake, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally, man. Uruka Sasaki, first of all, I want to talk about how huge the man looked in there. I mean, both of these guys are generally very big in, lanky bantamweights, first of all. Definitely the longer bantamweights out there in MMA. But Sasaki, dude, he really packed on the muscle in his time away. He looked like a monster. It was pretty nuts to see him looking like that. But, came out, was looking sharp in the striking early on, took some big shots from Takizawa as expected, but wasn't rattled, wasn't deterred, after that scary, just gnarly jaw break that he had against Kai. And, ultimately imposed the veteran savvy, onto his opponent there, mixed in the takedowns and grappling and everything. Just a very good overall performance. People were saying that he kind of gassed towards the end, which I don't know if I would say he gasped, but I would say he probably definitely slowed down. Maybe you can attribute that to the muscle he packed on, which understandable and everything. And almost almost got caught in a crazy guillotine of sorts against Kenta there. It was very, I don't know how to describe it, but a choke. Very, very tight. I was jumping out of my seat. I thought that Kenta was going to pull it off there, but Sasaki survived and managed to ride out the rest of the round to get the decision. Pretty fun fight, and good to see Sasaki back. So, and he's huge now.
Yeah, John, you must have seen this one. I presume you watched this one.
Yeah, I saw this one, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, Sasaki was he looked really good. Overall, he looked really good coming back from that type of injury. And yeah, man. And when I talked to him before the fight, I asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, I've had some muscle, but we didn't expect that. We didn't expect like
This
the
guy used to
difference
be a
of
flyweight, dude. Insane.
it almost looked like it was like a guy in a man's body versus a guy in like a young man's body. You know what I mean? Like it's like a before and after picture with Kenta next to Sasaki. It's like Kenta looks like what Sasaki used to look like. You know what I mean? Like Sasaki, I feel like it's weird to say, but it's like he should have had that body 5 years ago. You know what I mean? And it's like if he did have that, what would he have been doing? You know what I mean? Like in that bantamweight division. But whatever. But in this fight, he did well. You know what I mean? I think he bullied Kenta around with that size, and he even tried to stand there and strike with him. Because he'd been working on his striking too. So he showed us a little bits and pieces of what he can do, and maybe his jaw was still playing in the back of his mind, you know what I mean? And maybe this fight has kind of like put him over the hump in his confidence of just going out there and being able to get hit without worrying about getting injured again. And his next fight, maybe we'll see the full version of Sasaki, right? The full skill set of him. But he was impressive here. Kenta, he lost the fight. He was dominated, for most of the fight, but he's still a young guy, man. He's only 26. He could still compete against the best guys in the division. I feel like Sasaki's like up there at like the top 5 guys, right, in that division. Maybe top 10, whatever way you want to look at it. But yeah, man, I feel like these are 2 guys, no matter what happened in this fight, they're going to continue fighting for Rizin. It's not like they're going to go back to like deep or whatever. I feel Kenta has a lot of fights in him left. And Sasaki, man, he's I still feel like he's a couple wins away, like 2 wins away from like being a contender for that title. But I think he's willing to do that because I feel like he needs that to be able to fight somebody like a Horiguchi. And I'm looking for that Asakura rematch. Imagine him with that body against Asakura. That's a different fight.
All right, I forgot to actually put on I made this fancy new overlay, guys. What do you think? Is it look any good?
Oh,
we want to keep that up there.
Perfect. It's perfect for like 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, that's not good either.
I cover in my face. No one wants to see my face anyway. They came here for Drake's mustache and yeah. Okay, well let me move back down the fights. We'll try and keep it up there, see how that works. Let's go. Let me sort my shit out. I'll move myself back over here. Got so many things, so many balls juggling in the air here. All these tabs open. Okay. We sort of alluded to this one earlier. Kana Asakura beating Aishimizu by unanimous decision. Let's dive into it. Drake, I think the question before was, what do you do with Kana now?
She gets a title shot. I mean, we talked about it going into this fight. It feels like an absolute no-brainer that I thought it felt like a no-brainer that whoever won this fight should get the next title shot, unless you want to, shoehorn Rena into the mix, who hasn't fought at atomweight in like her last 5 fights or whatever, but she has been winning. Of course, you could do that. She's been open to it. She probably would have fought Ham next if Ham didn't go and vacate the title, leave and all that stuff. But now Hamasaki, her very good friend, who she likely will not fight at any point unless it is for one of their retirements, which would be sad, but it seems like more likely that Rena might be retiring before Hamasaki, which is kind of a crazy thing. So that's actually my bold prediction, you guys. I'm going to throw that out there, that we will see Rena versus Hamasaki for the title and Rena's retirement fight this year, because that's the only way it's going to happen. They're not going to fight each other any other way. So I'm going to throw that out to you guys before before it's 2021 for me. But as for Kana, yeah, I think she has still earned it. People were not very impressed with her performance, which, yeah, it was not at all her best performance whatsoever. But I think it was more a case of Styles making fights. These are two very good wrestlers going at it. Their bread and butter is their wrestling. And once I was able to, she started off a little bit slow, was kind of feeling out Kana as Kana was working her striking and everything. And Kana didn't even really try to wrestle in this fight. It was I who engaged in the takedowns and everything, and where things got interesting on the ground. And man, I tell you though, as the fight went on, it was kind of a momentum shift where I got more comfortable and started to take over a little bit. And right before, like, those last 20 seconds where where Kana got into that position where she could rain down some hammer fists, I think that stole it for her. I was slightly leaning towards It was super close, but Kana ended up landing like 15 or so very hard shots just in that 20-second span that I think stole it from her. That's how close it was. I think it came down to the very end. But yeah, Kana still gets a title shot. That's 4 in a row. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered how she won. What else are you going to do besides the Rena pick, like I said? But we'll see.
Well, thank you, Drake, for talking there. I was just fiddling with the graphics again. I've come up with that. Anyone think that look any better? Let us know. John, let's get your take. Kana Asakura, is it the title shot for you?
Yeah, there's nobody really else to take that spot. They just need to figure out the division a little bit, and Kana's probably the best. Like Drake said, she's won 4 in a row. The fight was close. It's kind of like they're mirroring in style, and I actually did a decent job of kind of balancing it out with the wrestling, but Kana did the most damage. And Rizin, how they score fights, it's mostly with the damage, right? So I feel like Kana did the most damage in that fight, and she got the win. I was expecting something more dominant from Kana, so I was somewhat disappointed, you know what I mean? Because she has so much more experience, right? And she's fought so much more, established fighters in this division, to where she hasn't really fought that many. She's only, up to that point, she's only fought 5 times, and this is her first loss of her career. So it'd be interesting to see what happens after this for also. Does she, fight again for Rizin, or does she go back to like the smaller promotions? I wonder what's going to happen with her. But I still think that she's a decent fighter, and she's going to be there, competing against the best. Maybe you might have to put her against Yamamoto. I think that will be a good matchup to see what happens with their wrestling against wrestling styles. But yeah, Kana, she deserves a title shot. She should be next. And if she can't beat Hamasaki, it's like, man, that's 2 in a row against Hamasaki. But if she beats Hamasaki, man, we got a new queen.
Indeed. Chris was asking you, Drake, is it New Year in 10 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes?
Hour and 10. Still got some time.
All right. So we are not robbing you of your countdown. Okay. Arthur was asking, yeah, what about who does she fight next? I don't know. Have you got any ideas, guys?
Well, John just mentioned Miyu right there, which I think that's a solid choice. But at the same time, going into this fight, I have in my own personal rankings around like that 13 range in the atomweight division, and then Miyu, of course, is in the top 5. So that would kind of be, still giving her a step up, which I guess it wouldn't be terrible because of how close this fight was. Like I said, I think it came down to the very final seconds there. So I would be fine with that, and it would be very interesting to see how it played out with the wrestling of both of them. You would think you'd have to favor the wrestling experience with Miyu, but yeah, that would be a solid choice, of course. Maybe they could bring in another veteran like who was it that ran a fought in her last one? Emi Tomimatsu. There are options out there. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head right now because of all the international fighters. That's what I'm trying to think of the possibilities there, and that's very limited at the moment. So I guess Miyu is probably the best one, but we'll see. And just a little thing that I thought was interesting, was how taped up Miyu's knee was. Maybe she there could have been something to that, or I'm reading into it a little bit much, but that thing was heavily taped. So we will see. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. Let's see the rest of this card though as well. This is the one I wanted to get to, and
Here we are.
Here we are. Shibata defeated Hiroya by a submission armbar round 2. It was actually, this was overruled, wasn't it? It went for a draw first of all, which in itself was kind of bizarre. I thought, Mr. YouTuber should have got it if it was going to the scorecards, but then the commission, I think, whoever was the commission, overruled it and said that Hiroya tapped in second round. Any complaints here, Drake?
No, the complaint was that there was no call on the tap because it was very blatantly a tap. So, yeah, that was super bizarre when that happened. And I've seen these calls of it being a work, which I do not think it was. But I will say that when the very blatant tap was not called with the referee right there, it made me think that was a little bit odd. But since they went and overruled it, that definitely, rules anything out of that mix. And I mean,
it was like a double work.
Double work back all over the place. But I mean, Shibatar dropped him in the first round. Like this was such an L for kickboxing, but incredibly entertaining. Like just the theatrics from Shibatar in the first round. It was.
I thought I was watching NJPW or something.
Yeah,
bouncing off the ropes. It was hilarious. I thought, what the hell am I watching? It was fun.
The guy is very fearless. Can't give him, all the credit in the world for that. But and also about the majority decision thing or the draw, whatever it was. I'm assuming that going into this fight, they were planning on not having a winner for win a decision. How kind of an exhibition type thing that we saw with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, whatever. But yeah, no, Shibatar definitely tapped him out, and it was very embarrassing for Hiroya to lose in both of those rounds. So, and man, what a chin on Shibatar, because he did eat some pretty big shots, man. It was impressive.
They were going hell for leather, I think, by the end, weren't they, John?
Yeah, I didn't even watch this.
Okay.
Oh man,
they were going hell for leather, weren't they, Drake?
Yeah, they were.
I'm not a real fan of that one, but yeah, I caught glimpses of it.
You want to watch Jake Paul stuff though, John? Come on, this is the same thing.
I want to see him fight Jake Paul. Yes, I want to see this guy fight Jake
Shibatar
Paul.
versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that one because that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think I was just like so mesmerized by the previous two fights that I was just like, I checked out for this one.
All right, why don't we get to those then? I hope everyone in the comments, they kind of asked their questions earlier about that fight. If you have any, please re-ask the questions if we did not address your concerns over the Shibata fight. Okay, moving on. Kazuma Kumamoto defeating Tayo Nakahara via KO in the first round. Strikes. This was very impressive again. We'll start with you, Drake.
Yeah, man, this was very impressive, especially considering, the background of Kuramoto. He's known for his grappling and everything. What the suplex king, or his nickname is something involving suplexes, and everybody was all anticipating, oh yeah, he's in Rizin now. We're going to see some sweet slams and all that. Nah, sorry, man. I'm going to go style on a guy and throw my shin into his mouth. And that's exactly what he did. It was very, very impressive, considering this is just a new wrinkle to his game overall. And he could be a problem, man, if he's got that skill in his back pocket and he's showing these striking abilities now, and violent ones at that. He landed multiple, soccer kicks to get the finish there, against somebody like Nakahara, who's no joke. So definitely one to watch in this division. And yeah, he's going to be a fun guy to see whoever he's up against next.
Nakahara, he's coming back from like this long layoff, right? But very highly skilled, a lot of experience, good, and he's been training the whole time. Kuramoto, man, he seems really small for bantamweight though, man. He looks like a flyweight. I think he's a flyweight, but he fights at bantamweight just because that's where all the fights are. And I want to see him fight Tenshin. I want to see Kuramoto go down to flyweight, 125. And fight Tenshin in an MMA fight. I think if Tenshin's gonna do MMA, I think this would be a good fight for him. I think Kuramoto poses a peculiar skill set that if Tenshin can go in there and beat Kuramoto, and or vice versa, it will be huge for either one of them. You know what I mean? In the eyes of like the fans and stuff. So I want to see Kuramoto go out there and maybe be able to suplex. Imagine him suplexing
Oh my god.
Tension on his head like 10 times.
Well, Tension got slammed in his fight. Actually,
Yeah, he did. He did. So yeah, Kuramoto impressive, man. Yeah, the pedigree's there. And he's improving his striking, and yeah, those soccer kicks are a game changer, man. I'm telling you, like, I understand. If you could have soccer kicks, you should have soccer kicks. But I understand the side of people like thinking it's really dangerous. But man, it shows you that if you have trained referees, trained really well on the rules, it shouldn't be a problem. The soccer kicks, right? It's just when you have incompetent refereeing, that's when the rules become a problem. So, anyways, great job by the ref. He stopped the fight, perfect timing, and Kuramoto gets a highlight, man. And Kuramoto's wife, you know who she is? She's Olympic gold medalist, man, in wrestling. So read into what you can with that, but we never know, man. We never know. That's a deadly, like when you talk about power couples in MMA, that could be a power couple in MMA soon. Who knows? But I'm just throwing that out there.
Planting the seed.
Throw away, John. Throw away. Okay, let's go on. We're nearly there. Nearly done. Tsuyoshi Sudario defeating Yukihisa Minowa man round 1 via TKO. Oh god, it was kind of sad to see. Such a legend, isn't he, guys? But the size difference was so stark for me, and just chopped him down, didn't he, with the leg kicks? I think Minowa just sat down eventually, and didn't take too long for the ref to step in. Maybe just one punch, wasn't it? Who wants to start? We'll go to Drake.
Do we have to talk about this? It was some sad shit, man. What a terrible way to start the card. Officially start the card. Like, you get the sweet Minowa man entrance, brings back all those moments, running through your head. The nostalgia just hits you, the trip. And then he goes out there. And first of all, as John mentioned, the limited rules in this fight, where no elbows, all the stuff that Minowa man asked for to, prevent, as much damage as he could, essentially, or whatever you want to say. But he comes out with his shoes on as well, the wrestling shoes, which limits him even further. That takes away his kicks, because if you guys remember, the new shoe rule that was implemented after Rizin 24, I believe it was, meaning if you wear wrestling shoes, you're not allowed to throw knees or kicks. So it was essentially just punches allowed for Minowa man. And then what do you know? He gets beat by kicks. So it was, I don't know if that was the wisest choice for him. And it took away his drop kicks also. I mean, we were totally dying to see those, right? But I don't know if the size was the thing here, because we've seen him fight massive people before. But Sudario fought very smart by not, playing on the ground and just heavy leg kicks, man. Just, it took, I think, the second one, only on the second one, and Minowa man was like, oh, fuck. My leg is toast. And then it was like one more after that, and he just couldn't stand anymore and couldn't even get out of the ring, essentially. He needed help. And one hammer fist followed it up. That was that. It was such a bummer for people who know about Minowa man, but very big. What a good win for Sudario, in terms of name value, like for your second fight ever. Good for him, man. But for most of the MMA community, I'm sure, very sad moment.
Yeah, John,
Sudario showed that, man, with that limited rules, he went out there and he didn't even throw any punches, man. He just like, okay, I'm gonna show you that I can kick, and I'm gonna kick your leg. And he basically did what Horiguchi did, just way earlier in the night, and just threw like, and this dude is a massive dude, and those kicks, man, the impact. I think, how many kicks were there? Like 2 or 3. It was over. And Sudario just showed that, hey, I can go out there and have a game plan and stick to it, and not just brawl. And he showed that in the first fight too. It wasn't like just a sumo guy going out there and trying to fight. It was like a sumo guy that learned how to fight and is learning on the job. It's like on the job training, and that's what he's doing, and he's doing a good job with it. And like I said, he has one of the best mentors in Instant Inoue, who's going to be in his face telling him exactly what he needs to do. And he has a lot of natural talent. He's I think he's 23 years old. A bright future for him, man. And yeah, I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Sudario now because of that highlight of him beating Minimal Man. Because whenever Minimal Man fights, all these people that usually don't watch fighting will come and watch the highlights of Minimal Man, even if he loses. And it was kind of weird after he dropped. He just gave his head to Sudario. Like, he's like looking at him like from it was like a 69 position, right? But like nobody was on top of him, right? And he was just looking at him like, what was he doing? I didn't understand that. Like, did he expect Sudario to just like jump on him?
He's trying to Eminari roll, but he didn't have the momentum. I don't know.
I think that's what it was, probably, right? Because his leg was mashed potato, and he just couldn't, I guess press off of it or whatever. But Sudario just, man, that hammer fist. You just see, like, once that one hammer fist landed, you knew Minimal Man was out. Like, he was gone. Like, he was like, and the referee did a good job too in that one. He just went in there. He's like, it's over. Stop that. It's done. And Sudario, man, it's gonna be hard to find people for him to fight because, like, Japan is not full of like all these like massive individuals, right? Of course, they have the sumo wrestlers, but who's they gonna? He's gonna have to find somebody that's like a crossover guy, or and I think they're okay with that because he's so young in his career. So we might see a couple of more of these matchups like this, but it's just gaining his confidence and experience, and I think that's what they want. And I'm telling you guys, this guy, he could be one of the major stars for Rizin. I'm telling you right now, he's gonna become, if he follows this path, he's gonna become one of those huge stars for Rizin. He's gonna go over to Bellator, and he's gonna fight over at Bellator because that's where all the heavyweights are. But for Rizin, I think that this guy is gonna be a guy we're gonna be talking about in the next couple of years as one of their main staples on these New Year's Eve cards, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I think he's gonna be one of those guys. But yeah, man. And this before we even get into the last fight, I didn't even watch it, right? I didn't even watch this last fight or the first fight. Sorry, this first fight of the night. But I'm pretty sure Drake did. So Drake.
Well, I was going to say, I missed it as well because I was trying to log into the damn live stream. I think a lot of people were having issues actually getting on there at the beginning. It was overloaded or something like that. Drake, did you get in time?
Well, that was the thing, is people were trying to get in, but the English stream didn't start till the Minoa Man fight. So everybody was like, it's not working. But it's like, because they're not going to show this one on the English stream. So that was the reason. And so, yeah, I didn't get to see it yet either because I went to the English one. But it was shown on the Japanese stream. So we got duped.
Mori beat Eru Takabayashi with an armbar submission, but obviously fight declared no contest due to weight miss.
Yep. So, I mean, that's obviously good for Sakura, who had the experience edge of this one, I think. Both 17-year-old high schoolers, that was the highlight of the fight going into it and everything. But unfortunately for her, missed weight, so you don't get the win. I like the rule. I think we touched on it a little bit the other day, but yeah, you got to make weight. It's a learning experience for her. I'm sure she'll, fix that up. Still very young. Good to see. Good. I mean, she got a quick armbar, so I'm sure it was impressive. Can't wait to see it, but haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, I better go back and watch it. I guess that about wraps it up for the card. I don't know. We got any further comments on Rizin? Tokyo Dome? Yeah, we sort of touched on that already, didn't we? It looks like it's going to be in March. Overall, yeah, just another great fun show on New Year's Eve, isn't it? I love these. It's this very kind of unique atmosphere, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, I've been there. I was there last year, man, and I was hoping to be there this year, but hopefully next year I'm there and covering the event. It's because I was there last year with I don't even know. I think it was like 30,000 people, 20,000. I don't even remember. I think it was like 30,000 people, man. It was packed in there. And being inside the arena for the intro, that is something that you need to experience as a fan. It's incredible. I've never experienced that ever in my life. UFC is just like a factory. Whenever you go to a UFC event. It's like a factory. Once the fight starts, it's just like it starts. Like they're walking out, they're going through the motions, and all of the magic is basically just inside the cage. That's it. But for Rizin, it's everything. It's the walkouts, it's the presentation, it's everything. And a lot of the Asian promotions, they're trying to imitate that, but it's very hard. It's very hard to imitate that what they're doing. You know what I mean? Because they're the originators. Those guys are the originators. They're the ones who started it with Pride, and then there's they're doing it again with Rizin. One championship, I still haven't gone to any of their shows, so I don't know exactly like how that is.
Well,
And
they tried to imitate the announcer, was it Lynn Hart? Yeah, the
yeah.
oh god.
Well, they
every
had
time I go to
they
one.
had Lynn Hart, right?
I don't think they ever have.
One just has a woman who just tries to sound exactly like. Yeah, it's just it's so strange. I don't know what that's all about.
But it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to do their thing with the announcing stuff, but you cannot replace Lenny Hart. It's just man.
Dude, her introduction for Minnow Man was just had me dying.
Yeah.
Because sometimes she's like you cannot predict what she will come out with. Because everything is different. Because sometimes she's calm with it, and then sometimes she'll just go nuts, right? She'll be like, right? It's just like, where did that come from? It's like that. It's like the Exorcist or something, right?
Yeah.
Just comes over. But yeah, she's an icon, man. You cannot deny her. Much respect. I remember meeting her one time at a convenience store in Korea. And she's one of the nicest people you ever meet, man. Like, just she came up to me. I didn't even, like me, I never go up to people really and just be like, hello, like I'm a big fan. Like, it's very rare. I've done it a couple times, but not to her. But she came up and she's just nice. She just asked me about something there. But yeah, she's a very nice person and like icon, man. Just she continues. And yeah, man, you can't. What did they say? Often imitated, but
never replicated.
Never replicated, man. That's what it is. So, let's go out on that. Let's go out on giving Lenny Hart her props.
Yep. Everyone, please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. This was the first ever, I think, Rizin recap we've done on the post-fight podcast. It was fun. If you want to see us do more, then please let us know. Thank you, everyone watching in the comments. Let's bring all of us up here. Just want to let Drake tell everyone where you can find him. Drake, give us some plugs, please.
All right, you guys. Yeah, you can follow me at DrakeRiggs_ on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is where everything is. Always doing writing for MyMMAnews.com, The Scrap, BJPen.com, Fansided, The Body Lock. I'm doing a bunch of video content over there. And of course, doing my show, my Rizin post and pre-show of sorts, where I speak with all the Rizin fighters and everybody like that. Broaden Horizon, that is exclusively affiliated with MyMMAnews.com, as well as the Loudmouth MMA network, actually podcast network. I have English and Japanese versions and video in English, all that stuff. Many options to where you can watch and listen to it. So check that out. But all that stuff, of course, is on my Twitter at DrakeRiggs_. So the best place to find everything I'm doing, and appreciate it. So yeah.
Yeah, I toyed with the idea of putting these little things on underneath our faces, but didn't want to get heat from John because John doesn't like them. I don't know, John, where do you stand on these? I agree.
Hey.
I put up a video yesterday on my TV here. I've got a pretty decent sized TV, and suddenly they were fucking huge. Yeah, so I kind of see what you're saying now when you watch it at home, but I don't know. Where do you stand on these? What do you call them? Tags, handles?
They're all right. I mean, like for the live shows, I don't mind it. Like
just not for
it is what it is. Like when you have somebody like yourself controlling the boards, I mean, I don't mind it, man. It's just if it's on there, it's on there. Because why? Because you could control it now. Because before people would have their tags and some people would have their names, and it'd just be all just a color, right? And that's why I didn't like it because it was in uniform. I'm uniform, man. I have, I'm a recovering what do you call it? The people that are like super clean freaks and stuff. What's that called?
OCD.
Yeah, I'm a recovering OCD addict, and
still
I used to be
OCD.
really bad about it, and I still have some things on that too. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just my OCD side, and my wife is super OCD. So, but my house is cleaner than anybody's house. I guarantee it, because it's my wife. That's just who she is, right? So
Yeah,
so
my
it is
flat
what it
is
is. But
not
yeah,
clean
man,
right now.
it's all good. Like for us, man, on this channel, SCMP MMA, dude. Like we like Nick was saying, like we started the year, or like at 2,000 subscribers. Now we're at 12,000 subscribers, which means that's like 10,000 subscribers in less than a year. That is pretty crazy, and I think like thank you guys, that watch, that subscribe, and if you haven't, please hit that button. We'll continue, man. We're gonna get bigger names. We're gonna get better at doing these shows, and it just takes time. And I'm a guy that understands that. I'm not in a rush, even though I get impatient a lot with a lot of things that I do. But it's all good, man. And you guys, like Tristan, appreciate you coming on every show and being active, in the comments and stuff like that. And it takes people like you that do this, man, to push us and makes us grind even harder. And
Yeah,
we got, the first week of 2021, we got some big interviews coming. We got some big ones. Like we got Volkanovski, we got Prohaska, I got Shane Burgos, like some big names. And hopefully I'm going to be able to catch up with some of these Rizin fighters after the show, let them celebrate, let them chill out for a little bit, and then get them on and talk to them and see, hear about their thoughts on what their future looks like. But other than that, just keep, tabs on us and make sure you follow. Thank you.
yeah. I want to say Happy New Year to everyone again. Sepulot and Tristan, thank you. I think you've got yours coming up in an hour, or no, like 45 minutes. I'm already well into my new year. It's not been bad so far. Actually, Tristan, yeah, I think I got heat with Tristan as well. I meant to send him a t-shirt. I'll get on that. Sorry, man. Anyone I promised a t-shirt, I will sort my life out and finally send those out. Yeah, it's a new year. Let's see if it's any better. SCMP MMA going to keep rolling. As John said, a bunch of cool interviews coming up. And yeah, thank you, Drake. Thank you, John. We'll see you all again next time.